Rob behind the camera, and we are going to go through and talk about the boards that you are coming back to next week. So we now have 2 new boards in the Science Labs. They are different to each other, so there's 3 different things. The sideboard over there is just a dummy board. There's nothing that you can really do with it except display what's happening on the main board. And the main board is one that is more interactive. I'm only going to go through the very basics. There is obviously more that you will be able to do, and presumably it'll be the same kind of thing for the classrooms as well. Obviously the classrooms just don't have the lab sort of layout with the 2 boards. I'm holding onto this piece of kit here. Every lab except for lab 3 will have one of these remotes. It is for the sideboard only, not the main board, okay? And the reason I'm showing you this remote is because it belongs to each lab. You can see they've got a label on them. So this is lab 2's one, S105. And the reason that you will need this remote is for the button at the bottom here where it says pause. Now that pause button will actually pause the side screen. So that's how you will freeze your screen when you need to, okay? And you can also use it to turn on the board on the side, which I will do now. So that's the on power, on button there. So when you turn it on, you will see, sorry, I was a little bit too fast there. There is now a white light at the bottom. When it wasn't turned on, that light was red, and then it comes up. And then to turn on the main board, you just push that button there. Now, just whilst we wait for that to load up, sorry sir, if you could just follow me through. If you don't have the remote, there is also just a button here that you can push, and that is the one that turns it on and off. So there's off, and then on, if I give it a little bit of time, like that. Okay, so that's now turned it on, so you don't need the remote to do that, okay? Then, when you come in, it doesn't matter how many times you have been in the lab, it doesn't matter how many times you've logged on, this will always be your main screen. The dates may be changed to be correct by the time we get back, they may not. You just have to press to start it, and then no matter how many times you log in, no matter how many times you're in the same lab, you still have to do the same thing. We just need to go to the HDMI button here, which is white, it's the only white one, and you just double click it. And if it doesn't work the first time, just do it again the second time, and you will then see that we now have our boards. So these boards are mirrored with each other, just like they used to be. So the sideboard and the main board is exactly the same. However, we have extended mode from the staff computer all the way through. Now you'll notice I didn't touch any of these buttons down here. So these buttons are now completely null and void, they don't work, okay? So you don't need those buttons anymore to turn it on. However, the button down there is for sound, and you have the sound dial, and that does still work. So when you are using this for viewing videos and things like that, that is how you can control the sound as well. It's just how you turn them on and off that is now no longer working. Okay, so I'm just going to open up a PowerPoint and then put it on display. And you'll see here that my PowerPoint says open usually, and then this does not change from what you're used to. You can put it on display, and you will see that you have got the next slide coming up on the side here, so you know what's going to happen if you click the button. And this is now our extended mode. You cannot change those settings no matter how much you want to. And so then for you to then move through the slides, this does not work. Okay, I don't know why. This may change. Don't ask me anything about that at the moment. This may change in the future, but when you come back next week, to change your slides, you are going to use your clicker, which you have if you've bought one, or you can just use the space bar on any other normal way that you use to be able to change the slides. You just change it that way, okay? So, the last little thing I'm just going to show you is if you wish to write on these boards, okay? If you want to write on these boards, you are going to need some sort of pen. So this pen is from the old board, but it actually works, okay? It doesn't have to be charged. It's just literally for that little nib that we actually need. We actually have pens that are designed for these boards, but they will not be available to you in the classroom. If you want one, you will have one issued to you by Rob, but I have no sympathy if you then lose your pen. Those pens are basically you specific, nothing to do with the room in which you find them in, so you'd have to label them up somehow. So if you want your own pen to use on these boards, go and see Rob and he will give you one. Otherwise, these smart pens that are already in the room will work for you. This, by the way, is for science teachers only. Rob will not be giving out pens to anyone outside of the science faculty, okay? Then, I don't know how those ones are going to be organised, that's a question for somebody else, by the way. Then, to make this work, you have to control it this way, and we're not sure why. Last week I think it worked, but to control the writing on the board, you need to use the little pen icon down here, and unfortunately you have to use this to change things. So I've now changed that to pen, just like we would do if we were doing things, and I could, if I wanted to, write on the screen with my mouse. And it turns up on my board over here, but that would be a stupid thing to do, okay? I can now write on the screen using my pen here. Hello. Okay, and then maybe some alpha particles and some beta particles and a gamma. Oh no, gamma's that way, my bad. And so, if you then want to change anything, you again have to go over here to change the ink colour. And you can change it to blue, and then it goes this way, okay? Again, I don't know why. We used to have it, when I first trialled it, we actually had the menu pop up on the screen here. It doesn't happen anymore, don't know why. And then again, you would use the same functionality to then erase everything on the slides as well if you wanted to, okay? So that's basically how you set up, and if you want to write, that's what you have to do at the moment. That may change. In about a month's time, I think Martin's going to organise us to have some training, so if you've got any questions, we'll have that training for that. And I think that's all I have to say. Is there anything I've missed, sir? Because I've done this a few times, and I think we've got it right now. So, when you leave the classroom, again, you will turn off the boards. They're looking into timers to actually have that happen. Oh, there was one thing, sorry, I was going to show you. Okay, so if you do press freeze, if you just take it to the sideboard for me, sir, if you press freeze, this should work, hopefully, you should get an icon up on the side, so you hopefully can see you see it?
Yep.
Yeah? So this thing here, that little freeze thing, that means that you've frozen the board, and then if you unfreeze it, then the board is unfrozen and we'll be able to get to the next slide. Okay? So that's just so you know whether it's been frozen or not. And you can see how instantaneous it is. Also, one other point I forgot to mention is this is a bright room. We've got all the curtains open. There are no curtains to be fair, there are no blinds. But because they are effectively TV sets, there is no issues with visibility. So they can actually see even in bright, bright days. And hopefully that will help when it comes to sunny times, which is not today. But yeah, thanks! That's all I've got to say. Cheers!